How can the Ohio State quarterback be dropping in the draft when the draft hasn't happened yet? Putting the Fields narrative in context. Fields, in a way, sums up the story of the modern draft itself. There is the media narrative, which happens outside NFL offices, and then the team evaluations. Sometimes the two overlap, but often, they don't. This phrase is especially silly when people use it before the draft begins. We still do not know where Fields will be picked. I think the lowest projection I have seen is 15th, and most people seem to think he will go in the top 10, which is still quite high. Again, mock drafts could be wrong. But as they relate to Fields, they could be wrong in either direction. Maybe he'll go 20th, but maybe he'll go in the top 7. Before we scream that Fields is getting drafted too late, let's see him actually get drafted. If he does go late in the first round, is that too late? Well, quarterback evaluations are notoriously difficult, and anybody who screams that they're looming over all of this is the other storyline about Fields in the pre-draft season. Fields, through no fault of his own, morphed from quarterback to narrative. Black quarterback whose work ethic and intelligence get unfairly questioned. That storyline blew up when ESPN's Dan Orlovsky said some teams had wondered about Fields' commitment, and it took off from there. There has been a lot of discussion about whether Fields focuses too much on his first read or has the hunger required of NFL stars. And the odor of racism lingers over both. It's a sadly familiar story and people are right to push back on it. But right now, that's a media story. We don't know how much, if at all, that will actually affect Fields' draft position. It is easy to assume the NFL underdrafts black quarterbacks. For most of NFL history, almost every quarterback in the league was white. Racist stereotypes clearly factored into franchise decision-making. In the 1980s, 0 black quarterbacks went in the first round. In the 1990s, 2 did. Andre Ware and Steve McNair. We don't know exactly what will happen in this year's draft. But there is a strong chance that 5 quarterbacks will go in the top 15, and 2, Fields and Trey Lance, will be black. The league's track record with black coaches continues to be appalling, but its recent track record with black quarterbacks is, objectively, much better. Perhaps most encouraging, teams used first-round picks on black quarterbacks who were not particularly mobile. Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater and Dwayne Haskins all fit that description. That tells you are willing to consider that the next Peyton Manning or Tom Brady might be black. The NFL's 4 highest-paid players are all black quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson are elite players at the game's most valuable position, and so teams paid them like it. But their success is both the result and cause of a trend. As the league started to give black quarterbacks opportunities that they should have received years ago, some became stars, and their stardom made teams more likely to ignore those old racist tropes. We should not overreach with conclusions here. The NFL is an ever-shifting league with a limited number of quarterbacks. For all we know, the next 4 drafts will be dominated by white quarterbacks. But the conversation about Fields should take place in its proper context. At some point after the draft, Justin Fields the storyline will give way to Justin Fields the player. This will probably be a relief for him. Maybe for us, too.